countryside. We would swim, go to the forest, help with chores, and in the garden, gather with the other kids in the evenings to play cards, tell scary stories, play hide and seek outside, and do lots of other fun and exciting things. By the end of the summer, most of the kids had gone back home to the city, but I sometimes stayed a bit longer. That's what happened this time too. On one of the last days of summer, I went out for a walk. It was a cloudy day, a light rain was drizzling, and thunder rumbled in the distance now and then. To avoid getting soaked, I decided to visit my friend Josh. He, like me, hadn't left yet either. I knock on the door. Josh's grandma answers and says, "Oh, Josh went to the forest to pick mushrooms. Alone?" I ask. "Well, yes," replies his grandma. "He left a while ago. He'll probably be back soon. Do you want to wait?" "No, thank you. Please tell him I stopped by." "Okay," his grandma answered and closed the door. I started thinking about what to do. Go home or take a walk and wait for Josh. Suddenly, it started pouring rain, and I began to worry about Josh. How was he doing out in the forest in that downpour? We didn't ever find any hut there again. Paman answered and closed the door. I started thinking about what to do. Go home or take a walk and wait for Josh. Suddenly, it started pouring rain, and I began to worry about Josh. How was he doing out in the forest in that downpour? We didn't have cell phones back then, so I couldn't even ask where he was. I decided to go look for him. I ran home, grabbed 2 raincoats, and rushed to the forest. I knew roughly the area he always went to, so I headed there. I ran along the path we usually took and saw a basket lying on the ground, full of mushrooms. I started to get really worried. I had a bad feeling. The basket was there, but Josh wasn't. Honestly, I panicked, but I decided to go a bit deeper into the forest. After about 500 meters, I came to a clearing where, illuminated by flashes of lightning, a sinister-looking hut stood. It had no windows and no door. I walked around it and realized something was very wrong here. Just like in a fairy tale, I thought, and almost automatically whispered under my breath, "Hut, oh hut, turn your front to me and your back to the forest." And the hut stirred, rose on chicken legs, and began to spin as if it were dancing. With every rotation, something changed. First, the weather shifted and the sun came out. Then the whole clearing became covered with toadstool, and tree stumps where snakes sat. Finally, windows, a door, and a staircase appeared on the hut. I walked up to the door and knocked with trembling hands. No one answered, so I decided to push the door. It swung open. I almost died of fright. Everything was just like in fairy tales and cartoons. Dusty, all wooden, a cat, a stove, and an old woman snoring on top of it. I stepped over the threshold, and the floorboard creaked. The old woman stirred, then suddenly jumped down from the stove and was right in front of me, face to face. I immediately knew it was Baba Yaga and was speechless. "Why have you come?" the old woman asked me. Her voice was straight out of a horror movie. "I'm here for my friend," I stammered out. "This one." The old woman pointed to the stove, from which Josh's legs were sticking out. Seeing that, I almost fainted. "Yes," I said. "Take him," she said, "but on one condition." "What condition?" I asked, terrified. "Light the stove for me. I forgot the spell," said Baba Yaga. "With him in it?" I asked, nearly crying. "You can use him if you want. I don't care. The fire in this stove has been lit for 120 years. Then I come back and it's out. I've tried everything. I just can't remember how to light it." "Let me pull him out and we'll light it," I suggested. "Go ahead, dear," said Yaga. I pulled Josh out. He was okay, just really scared. He started mumbling something. I couldn't understand him. I grabbed him by the shoulders, shook him to snap him out of it, and said, "Josh, we're going to light the stove now and then go home. Hear me?" He nodded. He wasn't much help. The stove was full of dry birch firewood. I took out a piece of paper and the lighter my dad had given me before the summer, so I could light campfires. I lit the paper, placed it under the wood, and the stove caught fire. You should have seen Baba Yaga's eyes. They were childishly happy. Her problem was solved. "Dears," she says, "you've really helped me out. I would have starved to death. Can we go?" I asked, Maybe you'll stay. I could eat you, she said with a chuckle. No, thank you, I said with a crooked smile, and we started backing toward the exit. Don't worry, dear. I keep my word. But if I catch you again, I'll eat you, she said with a malicious laugh. And give me your fire. I threw her the lighter, and we ran away. When we left the clearing, we found ourselves back on the path, where the basket was lying. We picked it up and returned home safe and sound. Josh and I still remember this story. To this day when we meet up, we went back to that spot many times, but we could never find any hut there again. Hello, I'm Clucker. Welcome to Dark Moon Games. Today, I'll tell you an interesting story about a child who got lost in the forest. If you want more interesting stories, don't hesitate to leave a comment. Rain in the forest. This true story began very calmly. I would even say peacefully. My dad and I went mushroom picking in the forest on a Saturday morning, just the two of us. We drove there by car. This is a new place, my dad said. We really hadn't been there before. The day was cloudy, but warm, early autumn. We were walking through the forest, chatting about everything. School, Dad's work, our relatives, and how Dad used to go into the forest with his father when he was a kid. In general, it was nice, warm-hearted, and interesting. The only downside was that there weren't any mushrooms at all. And then, luck, we stumbled upon a clearing, full of mushrooms. Good, white mushrooms. There was no time for talking now. We eagerly filled our baskets with the fresh mushroom harvest. I went to one side of the clearing, and Dad to the other. We got so carried away that we ended up on opposite sides without even noticing. Trust me, it's easy to get caught up in the process. Suddenly, the mushrooms were gone, and I realized I had left the clearing. And then it started to rain, and it kept getting heavier. At first, I tried to look for Dad, but with no luck. Then I decided to wait out the rain. Otherwise, I could catch a cold or even get lost trying to find him in that weather, and the weather really turned wild. A storm started with terrifying thunder. I saw a few large fir trees ahead. If you've ever been in a forest, you know what I mean. These are giant spruce trees, and underneath them, there's a lot of space. No grass grows there, because water rarely reaches the ground, and sunlight is unheard of in such places. I ran under one of those trees and crouched down. It was dark, scary, but at least it was dry. Suddenly I saw two red eyes, just 2 meters away from me, coming closer and growling. I squinted. It was a large wild boar. Apparently it had found itself a dry spot too. I know that wild boars are dangerous animals. If you cross their boundary, they can attack, and that was not fun at all. I said to it, "Hey there, friend. I'll leave. I'm just here by accident." But it kept coming at me, growling. I was terrified. And then a wild cry, a whistle, and the spruce branches broke apart. In a second, which felt like an eternity, a mortar fell right on top of the boar. And in the mortar, you know who? The witch, old, scary Gunnin. Damn it, broke again. The old woman shouted as she tumbled out of the mortar. "Dear Grandma, you just saved me from death," I said, helping her up. Saved you, the witch rasped. "Now you'll save me from hunger." No, I said. "That's not fair. Take my mushrooms instead." You people are so cheeky these days. "How'd you know I like mushrooms?" she said, squinting. "I didn't know, Grandma," I replied. "Just guessed." "Well, fine, dear. Can't take you in the mortar anyway, it's broken." The witch clapped her hands 3 times, and suddenly I was back in the clearing next to Dad, where we had been picking mushrooms. I didn't have my basket anymore. I told Dad I'd lost it while running from the boar, but I remembered that story for the rest of my life, and the witch turned out not to be so bad after all. She helped me get back to my dad safe and sound. If you liked the story, don't hesitate to leave a comment and share it with your friends. Thank you for joining us, Dark Moon Games. Hello, I'm Ratty. Welcome to Dark Moon Games. Today, I will tell you an interesting story about 3 friends who found the City of Gold. If you want more interesting stories, don't hesitate to leave a comment. The Golden City. Far away in the mountains, where the icy wind always whistles through the cracks in the cliffs, lies a mysterious place known only in legends, the Golden City. For centuries, rumors have spread about it, a city where everything, the buildings, the streets, even the trees, is made of pure gold, but those who go searching for it are rarely seen again. According to the old stories, the city was built by an ancient civilization that had unlocked powerful knowledge. They discovered the secret of immortality and sealed it deep within the city's golden walls. But one man, blinded by greed and lust for power, managed to find the city. As soon as he stepped inside, the city began to change. The golden walls shifted, closed in, and the city trapped him forever, swallowing him whole. Since that day, no one has ever found the Golden City again. It vanished into legend, hidden by mist and time. Those who claimed to hear whispers in the mountains at night told of strange lights in the distance and eerie sounds, the voices of souls who once tried to reach the city and never returned. One day, a group of modern adventurers, Jake, Emily, and Ryan, decided to follow the legend. Driven by curiosity, they studied ancient maps, followed old mountain trails, and ignored the warnings of locals who told them to turn back. As they climbed higher into the remote peaks, the forest around them grew strange. The trees were taller and seemed to lean in closer. The air became heavy and silent. They felt as though something unseen was watching their every step. Eventually, deep in a rocky pass, they discovered a mysterious stone archway, covered in moss and strange symbols. Without hesitation, Jake stepped through, and the others followed. As soon as Ryan, the last of them, crossed the threshold, golden doors rose from the earth and slammed shut behind them. They were trapped. The Golden City stood before them, silent, magnificent, and cold. Every surface glowed faintly in the moonlight. Streets wound in golden spirals. Buildings gleamed like polished coins, and yet not a single sound could be heard. It was beautiful and lifeless. Panic set in, but Jake, ever the optimist, spoke first. Maybe there's still a way out. Maybe the city's waiting for something or someone to wake it up. Emily looked around nervously, but everything's frozen. It's like time stopped here centuries ago. I read about this, Ryan said suddenly. They say the spirit of the city is still alive, just asleep. If we can awaken it, maybe we won't have to die here. Maybe we can even break the curse. And so, the 3 began to explore. They wandered through shimmering streets, past silent fountains and golden trees. Eventually, they reached a towering cathedral at the center of the city. Inside stood a massive golden statue of an angel, its eyes eerily lifelike, as if it were waiting. This has to be it, Emily whispered. Jake stepped forward and placed his hand on the angel's wing. The moment he did, a deep hum vibrated through the floor. The ground shook. A hidden doorway opened behind the statue, revealing a secret chamber lit by a warm golden glow. Inside, resting on a pedestal, was a pulsating crystal, glowing with life. Emily stepped up and gently touched it. A sudden wind swept through the room. Outside, the city began to stir. Lights flickered on in the windows. The walls shimmered more brightly. Then a deep, kind voice filled the air. "Thank you, brave souls. You have awakened me." The spirit of the Golden City had returned. "Long ago, I was sealed away when greed threatened to destroy everything. But your courage and pure hearts have brought life back to these streets. As a reward, you may leave this place unharmed, and I grant you each a gift. Not just treasure, but the memory of what you have done here." Slowly, golden light filled the city as its buildings came alive again. Figures, the lost souls of the past, appeared, smiling, free at last from the curse that had held them for centuries. The 3 friends were given small bags of gold and gems, priceless, but not nearly as valuable as the knowledge that they had restored something ancient and beautiful. As they stepped back through the golden gates, the doors opened for them willingly. The sun was rising beyond the mountains. Before disappearing into the morning light, the spirit whispered one last time, "True gold is not found in treasure, but in bravery, kindness, and the strength to do what is right." Jake, Emily, and Ryan returned home, changed, not just wealthier, but wiser. They never spoke much about what they had seen, but those who knew them could see something in their eyes, a light that never dimmed, a secret wonder they carried forever. And somewhere, hidden deep in the mountains, the Golden City still stands, waiting not for the greedy or the powerful, but for the pure of heart. If you like the story, don't hesitate to leave a comment and share it with your friends. Thank you for being with us, Dark Moon Games. Hello, I'm Mrs. Tree. Welcome to Dark Moon Games. Today, I will tell you an interesting story that happened with Sprunki Pinky. If you want more interesting stories, don't hesitate to leave a comment. Sprunki Pinky and the Horror Glitch. In a quiet little town, in a world slightly different from ours, lived some adorable creatures called Sprunkies. Sprunkies were cute, colorful, and had personalities as varied as WhatsApp emojis. The most popular among them were, of course, Pinky and Black. Pinky was a pink Sprunki, full of energy, with a pointy tail, big sparkly eyes, and a vibe that was pure main character energy. She was the kind of girl who would have posted a story saying "on fleek" before Instagram even knew it was cool, with a Shrek meme captioned, "This is my swamp vibe." Pinky had a whole fandom, teen Sprunkies, who spammed her posts with hearts and comments like, "Oh my god, Pinky, your goals," or "Slay Queen." She was always on trend, you know, that lit, so extra type of vibe. In a shadowy corner of the Sprunki forest lived Black, a dark Sprunki with feathers black as coal, glowing red eyes, like nightclub LEDs, and a twisted sense of humor, full-on dark mode. The teens in the US would have called him, "That's so savage," while European teens might say, "So dramatic, lol." What made him truly different was that he was an emotional hacker. He didn't talk much, but when he did, it was always creepy. Pinky, want to see something glitchy? One night, while Pinky was making funny TikToks, when you make a video and the food arrives before your friends, Black appeared out of nowhere, almost as if he teleported through Wi-Fi. And in a blink, poof, Pinky was gone. Her pink light faded. The Sprunkies freaked out. Pinky missing. This is a real cringe moment. A group of Pinky's best friends, cool Sprunkies like Jake, Sophie, and Lewis, came together. "We have to save her. No way she's turning into some kind of horror Sprunki." They threw out teen phrases like, "Yo, we got this. It's gonna be Gucci. No stress, fam. We rollin' deep." They followed Black's trail. It was obvious the creepy hacker had a plan. He wore a big hoodie, left behind dark memes like, "When you realize you're being infected by a Sprunki horror," and eerie red lights flickered between the trees. The forest turned into a glitchy digital maze. Tree trunks became power cables, and Pinky's voice echoed like a broken app. "Help, help me." Her friends followed the sound, whispering, "Bro, we were on the edge of a breakdown, but this is kinda epic." Eventually, they reached an abandoned server, like an old computer from the 90s, complete with dial-up sounds, and realized that Black was trying to infect Pinky with a fear virus, an emotional malware. She would no longer be the fun, pink Sprunki. She'd turn into a horror glitch, with tentacles, distorted laughter, and a creepy new vibe. "This is fine, not fine." Black appeared. He began messing with her emotions, laughing in a Reddit-level creepy voice. "Pinky, ready to be rebooted." Pinky screamed, struggling inside the glitch, but her friend stepped forward. "Enough of that. Pinky is not alone." They drew a digital protection circle, like a glowing neon shield, and started saying hype phrases like, "You're still dope, Pinky. You're not a glitch. You're the whole vibe. You'll never reboot alone, girl." The fear virus started to crash like a laggy app. With one last burst of energy, Pinky laughed her signature pink laugh. The glitch weakened. Black panicked. "What? No, this can't be happening." And the virus broke. Pinky transformed back to normal, bubbly, pink, full of spark, dropping lines like, "I'm back, bye-bye bug." Her friends yelled, "Makeup level 100. That's lit." Black dissolved into a cloud of pixels and vanished, cool, smooth, not shamed, in the digital forest, lit back up. Pinky posted a video. When you survive a horror Sprunki virus and still slay. Squad goals saved by friends. All the teen Sprunkies liked the post, commenting, "So funny, LOL. You're a legend, Pinky, and this is so wholesome." In the end, Pinky and her friends threw a party in the digital woods. Upbeat music, pink and black lights flashing, and funny lines all around. This party's so lit, even Black couldn't mess with our vibe. Who needs antivirus when you've got squad virus? That was savage, but we came out savager. And Pinky learned one important thing. Even when it feels like you're turning into the worst version of yourself, true friends can glitch through the darkness, bring you back, with humor, support, and lots of heart. If you like the story, don't hesitate to leave a comment and share it with your friends. Thank you for being with us, Dark Moon Games. Hello, I'm Oren. Welcome to Dark Moon Games. Today, I will tell you an interesting story about how Veneria defeated Black Sprunki. If you want more interesting stories, don't hesitate to leave a comment. Veneria and her 3 baby Sprunki. In an isolated village, on the edge of a deep forest, lived an old Sprunki named Sprunki Veneria and her 3 baby Sprunki, Brud, Garnold, and Simon. Sprunki Veneria was a loving mother, but sadly, her life had been marked by a terrible shadow, the legend of a wicked monster called Black Sprunki. He lived in the depths of the forest and would appear on dark nights, stalking his victims until he crushed them with his terrifying fear. The village always spoke of Black Sprunki, of how he devoured the souls of those who dared to enter the forest after sunset. Black Sprunki didn't look like any ordinary monster. He was a shadow with glowing red eyes and a mouth full of endless fangs, laughing in a high-pitched, horrible voice that made fear feel almost physical. One evening, as the sun began to set and the village fell into a heavy silence, Sprunki Veneria sent her 3 baby Sprunki out to search for food, saying, "My dear baby Sprunki, be careful not to stray from the path. The forest hides dangers, and night is coming. Be home before the sun sets." Brud, Garnold, and Simon laughed, saying they weren't afraid of anything. "It's just an old story, Mother," said Simon, the boldest of the 3. "We don't believe in monsters." Sprunki Veneria wasn't convinced, but she only said, "Be careful, Simon. If you meet a shadow, don't look it in the eyes. Don't let fear take hold of you." With those words, the baby Sprunki headed off on the familiar paths, laughing and playing, unaware that the forest held a deadly threat. As they searched for food, darkness slowly crept in, running through the grass and jumping over fallen logs. The baby Sprunki never noticed the shadow that had begun to follow them. With every step, a chilling presence crept closer. In a moment, they felt a cold wind pierce to their bones, and a deep, raspy voice echoed from the depths of the forest. "Little baby Sprunki, come see me." It was Black Sprunki. Brud, Garnold, and Simon froze. The monster's face appeared before them, a tall silhouette with fiery red eyes and a huge mouth full of sharp teeth. His laughter echoed around them like a nightmare. "Come closer," Black Sprunki said, his voice making the air vibrate. "I feed on your fear." "Ha ha ha ha," Brud and Garnold, terrified, freezing sensation gripped his heart. Fear wrapped around him like a suffocating blanket, making him feel like he would collapse. But at that moment, Simon remembered Sprunki Vineria's words. "Don't let fear catch you. You won't control me with fear," Simon shouted, lifting his head and keeping his eyes away from the monsters. Black Sprunki stopped and laughed maniacally. "Oh, little one, you're brave, but fear is a shadow that never leaves." Simon knew then what he had to do. He stepped back, drawing the monster's attention toward himself, and began to sing a cheerful tune, a song he had learned from Sprunki Vineria. The melody was full of light and hope, and with every note, the fear seemed to fade. "Don't be afraid of me," Simon sang, "for I am no bigger than your dream." Black Sprunki looked confused, and his red eyes began to dim. With every verse Simon sang, the monster lost more of his power. What is happening to me?" Black Sprunki whispered, losing form. "Why am I no longer feared?" Simon sang louder and louder, and just as Black Sprunki tried to respond, a blinding light burst from Sprunki Vineria's body. She had emerged from the forest to save her 3 baby Sprunki. "I'm afraid of you, Sprunki Vineria," cried Black Sprunki. But before he could take another step, Sprunki Vineria raised her horns and unleashed a blinding light that burned away the surrounding darkness. Defeated and weakened by the loss of fear, Black Sprunki Vineria raised her horns and unleashed a blinding light that burned away the surrounding darkness. Defeated and weakened by the loss of fear, Black Sprunki vanished into a gust of cold wind, leaving behind only a fading chill. "Brud," gargled Simon, "you are safe now," said Sprunki Vineria, gently nuzzling them. "Never let fear control you. Together we are stronger than any darkness." And so the forest remained quiet from then on, and Black Sprunki was never seen again. The baby Sprunki had learned a valuable lesson. Fear can only be defeated by courage and hope. With Sprunki Vineria by their side, they knew that any monster could be driven away, as long as their hearts stayed brave and full of light. If you like the story, don't hesitate to leave a comment and share it with your friends. Thank you for being with us, Dark Moon Games. Hello, I'm Gray. Welcome to Dark Moon Games. Today, I will tell you a new, interesting story. If you want more exciting stories, don't hesitate to leave a comment. Don't peek. Have you ever moved into a place that just feels cursed? Like you walk in, and the vibes immediately scream, "Run, bro." That's exactly how Jaden felt when he and his mom moved into an old apartment complex downtown called The Grange. The building looked like it hadn't been updated since the iPod Classic was still a flex. Yellow flickering hallway lights, walls that smelled like vintage regret, and carpets that felt like someone spilled Pepsi and never apologized. "Okay, babe, go grab the keys from the front desk while I start unloading the car," his mom said, tossing him the paperwork and Corolla keys. "Bet," Jaden replied, shrugging. "Hope I don't get haunted in the lobby." Inside, the desk lady looked straight out of a sitcom. Glasses thick enough to stop bullets, permanent I know a secret smile. "Welcome to the Grange," she said, handing him the keys. "You're in 4B, but listen," she leaned in. "Don't go near the door with no number. Same floor. Just don't." Jaden blinked. "Wait, what? Why?" She smiled. "Just don't. Trust me." Jaden forced a laugh. "Okay, ma'am, this ain't Stranger Things. I'm good." But deep inside, he wasn't. After a few hours of unpacking, setting up his gaming setup, a cracked laptop, and RGB lights he bought on Temu, Jaden finally sat down. But the woman's words kept replaying in his head. The door with no number. He stepped into the hallway. Yup, there it was, a plain wooden door. No number, no name, no mail slot, just vibes. He hesitated, then tried the knob. Locked. But then he noticed something, a keyhole. He got on one knee and peeked. inside was empty, dusty, worn-out wallpaper, hardwood floors, old-timey furniture. But in the far corner, there was a girl. She was just standing there, back to him, face to the wall. Her skin was pale, like I haven't touched sunlight since Obama was president. Pale, long black hair down her back, not moving. Jaden yanked his head back, like he'd just watched a spoiler for the new Stranger Things season. Nope, 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 he muttered, rushing back to his room. That night, he couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her, not doing anything, just standing, facing the wall, like she knew he was watching. Next day, he tried to chill, played Fortnite, scrolled through TikTok, even opened his homework tab, but didn't do it. He's not a monster. But by 10 p.m., curiosity hit again. Hard. He crept back to the hallway, peeked through the keyhole again. Red. Everything was just red, like someone painted the entire room with ketchup and anger. He jerked back, breathing hard. What the? That was it. He had questions. So he stormed down to the front desk. The receptionist didn't even look surprised, just sighed. You looked through the keyhole, didn't you? Jaden nodded slowly. Why is everything red now? And who the hell is that girl? The woman looked tired, like she'd answered this question too many times. A long time ago, she began. A couple lived in that apartment, young, strange, beautiful. Never came out during the day. Twilight vibes, Jaden asked. Worse, she said. One night, there was screaming, then silence. When the police came, they found no bodies, just red on the walls, red on the floor, everywhere. Was the girl the victim? No one knows. But ever since then, people who peek through the keyhole, they start seeing red, and sometimes they disappear. At school, Jaden told his best friends, Carlos, class clown and snack king, and Ava, literal tech wizard, and probably a witch. Carlos laughed. So you got stalked by the ring girl, and now your eyeballs are haunted. Ava frowned. Red, that could be a clue. Maybe she's not dangerous. Maybe she's trapped. Jaden blinked. So what? She's like a cursed ghost, waiting for someone to break the spell. Carlos, plot twist. You're her reincarnated husband, and this is all a rom-com in disguise. Netflix, where's my check? They laughed, but deep down, something felt real, so obviously they did what all teens do in horror stories. They went back. At night, at exactly 11 p.m., the squad returned to the hallway. Ava brought Sage, because of course, a flashlight, a Bluetooth speaker playing lo-fi beats, and a tiny framed photo she'd found online in the building archives. It was the couple, smiling, too wide. They placed the photo on the floor in front of the door. Yo, if we summon Bloody Mary, I'm suing someone, Carlos whispered. Ava lit the sage. If you're trapped, show us a sign, she said calmly. We're not here to hurt you. Silence. Then tap, tap, tap. 3 knocks from inside. The door creaked open, just a little. Jaden stepped forward. Inside, the room wasn't red anymore. It was frozen in time, clean, intact, like stepping into the 1960s. And in the corner, the girl, still pale, still facing the wall. But this time she spoke. He didn't hurt me. He tried to save me. He's gone. I'm still here. Ava's voice cracked. How do we help you? The locket. It holds what's left of me. Find it, and I can go. They stepped into the room. On a dusty side table sat a silver locket, shaped like a heart. Jaden picked it up, and everything shifted. The room flickered, like a glitchy video game. A soft whoosh filled the air. The girl turned. Her eyes were red, but not evil, just tired. Thank you, she whispered. Then she faded. The room vanished, and they were standing back in the hallway. No door, just a blank wall. Jaden woke up in his bed. Everything felt lighter, like someone had clicked new game awesome on reality. No static in his head, no nightmares, just normal teen chaos. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Thank you for seeing me. Then he stared at the message. Carlos saw it later and said, New ghost crush. Jaden laughed. Nah, just closure. The apartment felt different now. Less haunted. More like home. For once, Jaden didn't need to know everything. The mystery was over. And yeah, they never saw the door again. But sometimes, when the lights flicker, they swear they hear 3 soft knocks, just to say goodbye. If you like the story, don't hesitate to leave a comment and share it with your friends. Thank you for being with us, Dark Moon Games.